How's it going? Your parts of the world, various parts of the world.
Cold.
Cold.
Guys,
Yeah.
okay. Well, we're still very late winter here. We still got something like 22, 23 degrees.
Well, it sounds cold there. Well, 22. Wait a minute. Is yours degrees Fahrenheit? Are you talking, or is it
Degrees sense, not Fahrenheit, no. So that's quite warm for us for winter, but it gets cooler in the evening quite a bit. But it will just come in very, very, you know, it will, I mean, I'm watching the garden and the leaves really haven't started falling as much as they do this time of the year. So we need that temperature to drop a bit more. Hi, Athena.
Hello.
we don't want our temperature to drop. We want it to rise here because it's different the way you guys do it.
Yeah, okay, we're in the Mediterranean, so it makes a slight difference. So you don't want to hear the temperature in the summer. We go up to 44, 45.
Wow. Which is actually what, like 95 Fahrenheit?
Yeah, something crazy like that, yeah. So, because we are very close to, Cyprus is very, oh, people that don't know, yeah, I live in Cyprus, I'm Greek. So we're quite close to Beirut, we're quite close to Egypt. So we just less than an hour away by flight, you're in Beirut and Egypt. So that's warm this part of the world. But so is the next island above, it's Crete, which belongs to Greece. And then it's the mainland of Greece, where you have, you know, Athens and whatever. And then it begins, and then you get, you know, a country like Greece, then it has more of a variety of temperatures, you know, whereas Crete is closer to us, and they're warmer than the mainland. So the further down you go this way, the more you become to that really warm area around, you know, Egypt and the Libya and Syria and all of that stuff. But we are Europe. Us.
But
The only European capital that is divided left in the world.
Yeah. None of us understand that, but okay. Like, okay. My husband does. Yeah. Okay, so we'll just let people come in as they come, and I think a few others supposed to be.
Yeah, it's okay. I'll just go. Excuse me for a second, and I'll be back.
I always get messages. I can't find the link. Mm-hmm. And Debbie's one of them. Oh my. Now we want people to ask questions today. Don't be shy. Guys, I can't find a link either. There you go. Oh, gosh.
Yes, please do ask questions. Hopefully I can answer them, but please ask questions.
Yeah. I'm waiting for Debbie. She couldn't find the link.
It's okay. I mean, it's just about 12 your time, so
It's 12.
yeah, it's okay, it's fine. I mean, you can still let people in as long as they put the they mute themselves.
I know. I just don't want to start without Debbie.
Yeah, sure.
Let's see if she found it.
Oh, just leave that in face.
Oh my goodness. Let me see. Oh, maybe that's her. Yep.
Hey, Debbie, you made it, girl.
Hi. Hello, I
There
did. I know. I was rushing through the door there. I couldn't miss it. Couldn't miss it.
We're glad to have you.
Yeah,
Thank
nice to
you.
see you.
Yeah, you too, Angela. Lovely to see you. And you, Julie.
I see you a lot, so that's
That's it.
so I actually wanted everyone, I'm trying to get a lot of trance mediums to join together with me and have updated chats from when we did, I believe maybe 2 years ago, 2020 or 2019 or something. But anyway, with Debbie and Angelina in the past, and I'm finding that there's a lot of new beginners who are setting for development of trance mediumship, and that I'm finding that they are having a hard time with the blending process, understanding the process of developing trance, and many are too anxious to speak. So that's one reason why I want to start having some chats again and discussions on different ways of blending. What's it like for one person to the other, and so forth, so on. I'll let Angelina tell you a little bit about herself. Most of us know her.
Okay, lovely to see everybody. Some familiar faces here, but I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. I've been teaching for about 35 years. I've retired now. It's been about 4 or 5 years. But originally I was trained as a designer. So my world was always full of color, pattern. And it's still part of that has come in with my spiritual work that I've been very dedicated to most of my life. I'm sure, like many of you here, we all started off with having our own sort of little experiences, maybe as children, or maybe some experiences that we might have lost along the way or shut down. It's something what happened to me as well. I kind of shut everything down because I didn't understand it. But we all come in with a story, with a very personal play, actually, where we are the main actors, and the people around us, in our families, our relationships, are also part of that story. But no story is without all the bits of interesting other little bits that make up the bigger picture. And there might be in a play that you're watching that it might be the chap that's knocked on the doorbell to sell saucepans, for example, because he might have walked in and tripped on the carpet, and as he tripped on the carpet, there was an accident and blah, 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 blah. And of course, nothing is by accident in the story that we write. It's something that's important, I think, for us to remember as we walk this path, that nothing is by chance. And this is also the importance of why, when you decide to allow and invite the spirit family, your guides, which step in with you from the first moment you take that breath, then you begin a different path and a different journey. Because if you allow that to happen, and when I say allow, you have to build a relationship up. We call somebody a friend. Why do we call them a friend? Because they have meant something in our lives. We made a connection to them. We share something together. We share the same ideas. We built up a relationship, and those friendship relationships can be longer ones because we choose to make them more long-lasting. It is the same thing with your spirit family. And if you allow that to happen, then you are much more aware of the guidance that you have on an everyday basis. And so this was part of my journey. Whether I liked it or not, it was spirit would just sort of, boom, pick me up and put me in a certain place, and then off we go again. And like many of you here, I'm sure, you've been riding tsunamis in your life. I don't think there's one person here that will say, no, mate, sorry, but I've had a really easy go in life. Of course not. And some of those, hi, Maureen, hi. And some of those tsunamis can be real. What you learn to do also is by trusting that you learn to how to ride that tsunami. You ride that wave. And if you're sucked in, you learn to rise above it. All that takes trust. All that takes belief. It doesn't happen overnight. And this is the same with any form of communication that takes you to, let's just call it an altered state. And those altered states can happen quite easily, you know, during the day. I was just telling Julie before you came on that I was thinking about today, and I said, oh, I was in the shower, and I said, yeah, water always works. Because when you are doing something repetitive, as washing your dishes, as having a shower, you are driving. How many times are you thinking of things when you are repeating? Therefore, you are in a different state of awareness then. And that's when you begin to get messages. So in fact, you're experiencing that quite a few times during the day. So you have to find a voice within your soul, I guess, that one day tells you you're drawn to something, hopefully for the right reasons. And that reason is purely for yourself. It's not for anybody else. It's not because you fancy the idea of being a trance medium. It's not because you fancy the idea of being a medium. It's not because you fancy the idea of being a healer. It's not about that. You will be drawn to it. And you will be drawn to it from your heart, and you will know. And once you are on that journey, you are permanently on the plug. That's the way I like to call it. And all you need to do is just turn on the switch. So it becomes part of a lifetime. You may go off it. You may go off it entirely in a lifetime, but you're going to come back again, and you're going to come back again when you're ready again, in another time, another space, and then continue that journey again. So it is a very personal journey, and it has been for me. I was born here, and I lived and spent quite many years of my life, and that's why I sound quite English. Otherwise, I would be speaking like a Greek, you know, some of these people you hear all the time, you know, in Australia, in America, they sound like this. This is how, and I don't have the same accent because I left the country when I was 8.5. So I came back when I was 26. And the spirit world was always there, and it's been a journey of trust. So my teaching and my professional work has always run parallel to everything else that I was doing. But in the last 4 or 5 years, where I finally retired, I have dedicated more and more of my time to spirit. I've had very unusual opportunities all these years. Being in a small place like Cyprus in the Mediterranean, because that's how I began talking about the temperature, I found myself over the last 18 years traveling and doing workshops, doing readings, Hong Kong, Singapore, Japan, mostly those parts of the world. Now, what on earth was I doing there? But for a number of years, I kept having dreams with Chinese people. You know, and there were times sort of in the middle of a slightly quieter moment in the class where I would be feeling that I was at 2 places at the same time. And one place was in the Far East. But that's what spirit wanted. And it took a lot of trust to do that as well, because it took a lot of trust, and also financially You know, you might get invited to go and work in a center, but you have to pay for you. And that's a long way. So it took trust there as well. But it's been an amazing journey. I've always loved teaching. And the biggest pleasure I have is to work with people and share my experiences and hopefully help them to move along in their journey.
And then getting at that, we're going to start asking some questions.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you like to ask questions on trance or a medium, you know, mediumship, anything like that.
I'd like to ask the first question.
Yeah.
And maybe a few more after that. I would like to ask, what is your blending process? What is blending to you with spirit, with your guides?
Okay. It depends what you're referring to, really, but I suppose there's only one key, because to me, trance connecting is, I feel the energy works different. If I'm working as a medium, then I feel it different. And if I'm sitting to be with my guides, then that feels different as well. The process, the key to it is your heart. The process is being the connection to your heart, following your in-breath and your out-breath, which is the natural beat of this entire consciousness that we are part of, which has a rhythm, and allowing myself as much as possible to find that inner light within me and sit with it and let go as much as I can. So if I'm sitting, if you want to call it, in my power to connect to my spirit, to my spirits, family, guides, I always start with the same process. It's always my heart. I go through a process of my heart. To be really honest with you, I do not bother with opening my chakras, closing my chakras, whatever. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with teachers telling you, open your chakras and follow those. Nothing wrong with that. Many teachers will tell you different ways. I will not say it's wrong. I will not say it's right. That's why I began this conversation by saying it's a personal journey. You're only going to find that out if you sit by yourself. You're going to find that out if you sit and give yourself time. So for me, that's my heart, is my doorway, if you like. What does it feel like when I'm blending? Because there's a difference between connecting and blending. If you're working as a medium, then I'm connecting. I'm not blending, I'm connecting. Because I'm connecting to somebody that has stepped in. And no matter how strange it sounds, my connection as such can happen even an hour before I say I'm going to see somebody or work with somebody online. Doesn't make any difference to me. I set the intention and I'm in the kitchen. Again, I'm doing something mundane. And I set the intention and I'll say, I'm going to see a lady called Sue at 11 o'clock. So I open the door to the spirit world and I invite whoever's the right person to come in and give her the message that she needs for today. And I'm standing in the kitchen, I'm having a coffee, I'm just sticking it, just putting the dishes away. But I'm sending that intention out from my heart. And 9 times out of 10, they're there. 9 times out of 10, they step in. They step into my space. I can feel the energy changing, but I'm also extremely visual. So I can see them somewhere.
About trance, or are you speaking about mediumship?
I'm just making a reference to the mediumship. That's different. That's how that works. So you're not actually blending, but you're connected.
Okay.
When you're talking about blending with, in terms of trance, then that was very different to me. Because the blending, again, the anchoring is also always working directly from my heart. But the blending is because what you are doing is that you are sharing your mind with an intelligence. Therefore, if you're sharing your mind with an intelligence that is going to come through with a form of communication through you, then there is that. It's a correct word when we say blending, because it's more doing that. Whereas if it's a mediumship work for me, then it's coming in from my right-hand side and I get the information here. I still try to allow myself to not so much blend, but connect with the spirit person that wants to come in so I can feel what their character was like. Maybe my senses will get awakened from smell, taste, touch. This is different when you're blending to sit in trance. So because you allow that intelligence to be part of your mind. And it's not about taking over. Nobody can take over anything. But it's allowing that blending. So the energy can feel quite different. The energy I feel is more around me, surrounding me. And in the early sort of, I remember it was more intense over my crown and around my head. But you can almost feel it becoming like that with you. You know, like this. As if a part of that intelligence, if you like, is blending in with you. The wrong thing to do is to allow your mind at any one point, especially in the beginning, to start questioning, what is that? Am I supposed to say that word? Or I said what I said. Did it come from me? Did it come from them? Because then you're losing it. You don't start questioning. You allow it. Because it takes practice.
Wouldn't you agree that spending time blending with your guides and learning their energy and building that relationship with you is much more important than to rushing into trance speaking?
Absolutely. And this is why I made the point in the beginning. It is so, so, so important. It really is. That's why in the beginning I talked about, being part of your life and being part of your path and about trusting. You recognize the energy. And I do not honestly encourage people at all to want to find out the names of their guides. To me, it's a pitfall. It's a trap.
But it's more important to know their energy, not their names, right?
Yes, because you've got to recognize the energy.
And also not allowing others to tell you who your guide is, too.
Exactly. This is extremely important. But, it's human nature it's a weakness to have names on everything. We have pets and we call them, Jackie and a Dolly and a Simba. And that's fine. But it doesn't mean that you have to know the name. So I don't encourage anybody, because your guides may take years to tell you their names. Years. And I mean, one of my guides, my Indian guide, he only told me his name a few years ago. But did it matter? No, because I recognize the energy. I recognize the energy when he's around me. Like I recognize it.
I remember.
You remember? Oh yeah, we've got it here,
We're excited. Which was nice.
We've got it here. I've got it on my laptop, actually. It's quite interesting. Have you got to share it?
I can't pronounce his name, so.
Wakai.
Wakai, yeah. Wakai, I did it, yeah.
I don't know, can I share?
Can you share?
Yeah, I think you need to allow me to share, and I can show you. It's quite interesting, actually. It's right here on the laptop.
How do I do that?
You got to allow me to share. So host disabled participant screen sharing. You got to allow me to share.
I'm trying to.
Okay.
Okay, wait a minute. If I make you a co-host, can you share?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Give it back to me if I lose it. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, so I saw a question coming up. Let me see what I can do now. I do this. Hold on a minute. We'll find it. Here we go. We do this, and then we move this, and we move it over here, and we do that.
Ah, there you go.
There we go. So there's who's sitting behind me.
We can't see him.
Can everybody see?
It just says I can't. Mm-hmm.
Can everybody see the screen? Can everybody see my screen? Participants
see it
can now
now.
see. Okay. Let me see if I can. I don't know. But there, he's circled. Can you see his face? There's his nose.
Yeah.
These are his lips.
I can't see him as well. Is this the one I captured? Yeah.
Yeah.
Will you see the
I
one
think
behind the door?
Yes, and there's that one behind the door that's also peeping in there. But there, and you see if he's even got the marks on his. But the important thing was that when we were in that session, let me go back to that session. Changes around my heart space. And the same beat, the same energy around my heart was very intense. And then that's when I saw him very, very close to me. I thought my heart was going to burst. So I could almost touch him. And so I very quickly, you know, because he was talking to me at the same time. And so I began to write down what he was saying. So once I finished, I just very quickly sort of put this together. And that's where he gave me his name. And then about at 1 o'clock in the morning, I think it was about 1 o'clock in the morning, my time, then Julie texted me and said, you got to see this. So this is the same picture without the circle.
Yeah, and you can see it, but I can see him better there, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Wow.
Interesting. But talking about identifying images, etc. Let me go to this a second. I'll show you something that I experienced recently, which I again found it fascinating because I never experienced it before. Okay, now I'm going to show you 3 different drawings, and these are spirit guide drawings. They have a 1.5 years difference between them. Same client, but I had no idea it was the same client. This is Japanese names, guys. I don't remember. I may remember Jane Roberts, yeah, but I'm not going to remember Emutsuku Hatsumata. So I found it fascinating that the first guide, I think, was this one.
We
No,
can't
this
see him. I think, Angelina, I
Yes.
believe that, there we are.
There you go. I found it. So I think this was the last one. This was on the 31st of the 10th.
This is
Okay.
your guide?
Yeah, this is a guide. I had no idea it was for the same person.
Where's this
Now.
for you though? That's what I'm asking. Is this your guide or someone else's?
No, somebody else's guide. It was a client, okay? A year before that, I drew this for her.
That's nice.
I had no idea it was the same person.
Okay.
And the one I just showed you before, that appointment was only put 20 minutes before, so I had no idea. Because what am I going to do? Go through files of picking up copies? No. And the third one was in between this. And that was the last one there. So 3. See, that was in September of 21, and the last one was on the 31st of the 10th. Now, why am I showing you these? Because when I was working with a client, let me try and get back onto my gallery view. When I was working with a client, we're talking about energy and recognizing. The other day, when I sat on the 31st of the 10th, and I started working with her and making a reference to what he was saying to me, I suddenly felt that I recognized that energy. And so I said to myself, but I recognize the energy. So I stopped. And then I heard him say, it's me again. So I began to put the pencil on paper. And of course, I cannot see them. I can't see any of them. They don't pose for me. I just put the pencil on paper, you know, and I just let it go. I stopped and I said to the client, have I drawn a guide for you before that has glasses and kind of short hair that's a bit spiky and a beard? She said, yes. I said, okay. But it wasn't until I finished that She said it's the same one. And then, of course, I recognized it and I pulled the other ones out. So why did I recognize it when it wasn't my guide? But the fact that I had been working before with this client, and the fact that I worked with her 3 times, going back to 2020, within my energetic pattern and my space, there was a recognition of that energy because it's all stored there. And that's how you build that relationship with your own guides, because it gets built within your energetic matrix. Does that make sense, everybody?
It does make sense. But a lot of people, there's a lot that are coming new into trance. And if we go too far ahead, it can confuse them. I kind of like to stay on the thing. So what you're saying is that you know the energy of your guides once they come through.
Yes, and the only way you're going to do that, the only way you're going to know is to sense it. Or there could be different forms of communication. There could be a smell that goes with it. Why not? You know, many people I've come across, they recognize, you know, a particular smell that's around them. And they begin to sort of make that connection first. But it is about recognizing the energy and trusting it.
So I have a question from Sandy Robertson, who wants to know what's the difference between overshadowing and trance.
Overshadowing is a process. Trance is the topic, if you like. Okay, trance is, like I said, allowing your mind to be shared by an intelligence, by an expansive intelligence that is beyond yourself, that may need, not necessarily coming through a guide, but most of the time they're coming through a guide. Now, that's where the over-blending will happen, that the overlapping will happen. It's almost like allowing the two energies to overcome together. I'm not going to use my word mask because people like to use that quite randomly, and they think that there's a transfiguration taking place and we're going into different waters now, because then we're touching areas of physical and you're talking about ectoplasm. And that's a different ball game because there are not too many people around. You do not produce ectoplasm like that and talk about masks and
We have a lot of mass forming in our circles, so
over blending, but it's not the same as it would happen in conditions of trans-physical mediumship, where ectoplasm is produced through the nose, through the mouth, through the umbilical cord, and lights are out, and it's very dangerous. It can be very dangerous for the medium because they can physically harm themselves. It's a different ballgame. So the overblending is the energies that come together, Maybe, if I read this.
I'm kind of wondering if she meant of the difference between overshadowing and blending. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, because blending can start happening from externally and coming into your auric space.
Mm-hmm.
Correct? The overshadowing is a step further. To me, that's what it is to me. I say you blending with my guides. It doesn't mean they're overshadowing me. So it's blending is allowing. Let me just share a bit here. Hold on. So let me get rid of this. When you think that you are really something like this is the center of your being. Your energetic space is actually like this. It's 3D. And it's huge. Now, when I say huge, yeah, it depends on, for example, if you're physically not very well and blah, 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 then this it's diminished and it's not even a good shape, etc., etc. So another ball game. But this is your matrix that you're sitting in. So if you're blending, then it's part of this that you're going to be feeling that comes into that matrix. And if you, so this is really just cutting in the middle. This is a 3Dness. And if you like, then you may see it in this manner as well, like this. So blending is you're going to feel it blending this way. The over is coming over. That's why we use the word. That's how I would explain it.
Anybody have any other questions?
Yes,
Sue,
Sue.
you mute it.
Hi, just back to sensing your guides and feeling their energy. I've been sitting now just over a year. Yes, I feel them, but I do not recognize their energy. Is this because a guide hasn't settled with me yet, if that's the right word, or I'm just not sensitive enough to distinguish the different energies? Because I'm sure I feel them.
Well, first of all, you used a very important sentence. You said you're feeling them. So you're already feeling something. So why are you feeling them? Because you're sitting. Otherwise, if you didn't sit and make the time, then you won't be feeling them. To be able to differentiate it more, it might be a good idea to actually set an intention. Remember, you can talk to them like you're talking to me, Sue. Remember that. You know, they're right there. They're not up here. They're not down there. They're not right. They're not left. They're there. So you can try, and I suggest you do this. And I think I got a feeling you will do it. You can. I mean, you will recognize it because I'm told you will. If you set the intention and you say to take one of your spirit guides and say to him, I would like you, please, to step slowly into my space from my right. And then come in slowly and come closer and closer and allow him to do that. And then ask him to step a little bit away from you. So you'll be able to feel that. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Then you ask him to step back. Then you ask for another guide and tell him to come in on your left. And try doing that. Because that's going to feel that you said to me, I feel, and you will feel the difference.
Right.
The next stage, and I don't mean one after the other, because it's not a crash course. Yeah. And then gradually, it's a good idea. I would like you to ask both of them to come in and stand next to you. Then you begin to feel the difference. And you will.
I understand that, but how do I know it's the same two they're going to come in? Because I've felt one first and then the other. Then I asked them both, one to come from the right, one from the left, but together.
It's just to feel the difference, just to feel the different energy. That's the point I'm trying to get at. So that you acclimatize yourself to the difference of the two energies. Doesn't mean that you're going to be working with two all the time. And I'll give you another example. I mean, there are various stages you can go to, but see what's happening here. You're actually building up your own relationship with them. It's not about anybody else telling you or guiding you or teaching you. I'm telling you this now, you can try it. And then another bit you can do later on is ask specifically for your healing guide. Then you will notice a difference. Because your healing guide is very different, his energy. Now, having said that, we do come with a group of guides that are with us, but they do step forward and they do step backwards depending on what's going on in our lives. And you may not be aware of some of them until much later on in your life. I'll give you an example. Since there's been a process over the last 3 or 4 years where quite a lot of teaching and philosophy, call it whatever you like, has come down. I'm trying to put it together into a book, okay, and with the guidance and some of the exercises that now my guide, and she's actually it's been quite important, but I haven't realized how important she's been in this lifetime. It's a guide that has written 300 books. 300 books on spiritualism. I was not aware of her for some time until I came to the level that my own development as a human being, through my experiences, through the up and downs of life, shifted my energies, remember choices, remember development. Development is not just by sitting and blending. Development is about making choices in life. Do I forgive this person? Do I understand what's going on? Do I decide to move on with my life? What do I have understood with the bigger picture? This is development, because you have given yourself already. Remember the play we talked about in the beginning. So the choice of how you perceive, your perspective, your viewpoint, etc., is the learning and the development of the soul. Hence, your frequencies will adapt and change. When you are ready to be more on par with the frequency of that guide, because that's what's going on all the time, then you begin to make that connection on a much deeper level. And that's why over a period of time, I do recognize that particular guide when she steps in. I am very aware of her when I'm ready to write, because I've had to do my own shifting in order for her to come in closer to me when it was the right time. Does that make any sense to you a bit more?
Yes, yes, thanks.
We'll be working on it, Sue, in class.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I think Suzanne, did you have a question?
Yes, I did. First of all, I'm also Greek, so Kalimera sas.
Kalimera.
I'm a beginning trance medium. I've only been doing this a few months. And I realize the importance of blending, and I practice a lot of that. I'm more interested in how my mind is working and what I can do to step aside and not be so involved in the process when my spirit is speaking.
Okay.
I really need to understand that better. How can I deepen so that my mind is not in the way?
Okay.
And so what did you do as a developing trance medium to get to a deeper place? Are there steps? Is there something I can practice?
Okay, I gotcha.
Okay.
Okay. You used two important words here that I'm going to go back to. Well, number one is deepen, and the other one step aside. Okay, I'll come to those because that is language that is used all the time. And again, there's nothing wrong with it with many teachers. Let's just park that on the side. Because you asked, obviously, everything I answer to, guys, it's referred to me. It's my own experience. It doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean it's wrong. I could be wrong. It doesn't matter. It's me. Okay. I think for me, it started maybe about 14 years ago when I was taking some of those trips. No, I'll say it again. I really didn't understand why at the time when it was happening. But I remember, I had to walk every day. I was staying with a friend of mine in Hong Kong, and I was very privileged to be staying in an area called the Peak. And I had to walk for at least 1 kilometer every day. And it was just in nature, right? Nothing, nature, the silence. The only thing that interrupted that was an area that I used to watch some of the local residents performing their Tai Chi in the morning. So it was just a sound of nature. That's when I realized I didn't pay much attention that somebody was speaking to me. Now, I was aware of it, but my take on that was, hey, that's too intelligent for me to be me. That's not exactly what I meant. I think what I meant was, of course, I understood what was said, but I think it was a different way of speaking, a different way of saying things. So that was my personal, but I didn't understand at the time what it would mean years later. To come to your question, I think that, in my opinion, whatever that's worth, I think I encourage people to move away from this perception and restriction they put in their heads. I have to go deep. What does deep mean? I'm really asking you, what does deep mean? What's deep for you is deeper than me, for somebody else.
I think when you go deep, you go sleep. That's what you do.
You could do. Somebody else, guys, says, you know, and again, brilliant, wonderful. I take myself to my own space, my own sacred, lovely space. You know, my friend Mark Bedwood likes to put himself in a cupboard. Brilliant. Somebody else likes to put himself, you know, in nature. You're going to laugh at this, but I sometimes ride my Pegasus. Right? That's my personal thing. I'm not saying I do it when I'm in trance. I'm just saying I can go to a place like that. So whatever it works for you. So when a teacher says, go deep, go deep, go deep, you're already putting your mind into a mode, oh God, you know, I have to do this. The teacher said, you know, I have to go deep and I'm really trying hard. And have I gone deep enough? And you're already analyzing whether you've gone deep enough, and you're already analyzing if you're doing it right. Well, what's the point? When the whole idea of trance is to let go.
Yeah, let go. We spoke about that before, Suzanne. And also going through the stage process. There is certain stages of trance that you should develop before even getting into that really strong connection to the point where your brain isn't in it at all.
Okay, so what are those so what's next?
Okay, let's just finish the next bit. So you said
Okay.
step aside. You said step aside. Let's talk about stepping aside. What is step aside to you, and what is step aside to Milada and Athena? You see, I'm asking you, and you're going, because you're trying to analyze it in your mind, and you're trying to give it an explanation. Yes, it's logical, because at the end of the day, what does stepping aside mean? It means don't get involved. Why does somebody say to you, can you step aside, please? Because I want to get through. So they're asking you not to be involved. So you do not question. You don't sit to analyze. Don't allow your mind to be questioning all the time. How about letting go? How about, you know what I love to use in the class? I want you to be a little white feather and just float. And now, 9 times out of 10, Athena will tell you, because she's been with me for 3.5 years, my friend Athena here, guys, it works every damn time, because they like the idea, you know, that I'm feather and I'm light. Hey, I'm floating. And you know the next thing I say? She'll tell you 9 times out of 10, and Julie's heard me saying it because she's been with workshops. There's nowhere to go. And there's nowhere to reach.
Okay.
And there's nowhere to be.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
That's what-
That just opened it up.
Guys,
Okay.
that is it.
I got it.
That's it. You know?
I got
And
it.
the other thing is that, again, I feel really strongly, you've got to be yourself, you know? Trust it, because you're tapping into a universal intelligence that you are part of anyway. What is different about each one of us is that there is a connection to get you there, but there may not be, because there could be a collectiveness that might be working with you. Not one, collectiveness. I have been aware of a collectiveness, again, only in the last 5 years or 6 years. But I know when that is, and I know because I began to be visual with them first, and actually that's wrong, because they took me back 12 years first. And believe me, for a long time, you know what I was seeing? I was aware of 13 of them going around and around in these gowns, and all I could see was until it was time. Not for them, for me. When I was ready for them, then they could come in. So nothing to achieve. Do not compare yourself to anybody else. Do not think that this person has spoken and I have to speak if you're in a group. You do not have to do anything. It's you. Because it's the truth can only be you. Yep.
Thank you so very much. It just opened up. That's it. I'm good. Thank you.
You see, I had to speak Greek to her.
Yeah, there you go.
Any more questions, please?
Does anybody have any more questions?
I have a question.
Sure, Milana.
This is actually something I'm hearing from some of the people that I work with in the classes and things. What do you say to someone who, as they start to go down into that space where, you know, in trance we're kind of dropping away, and they start to feel fear as they are dropping away, and maybe this is something that has to do with their life or experiences in life or whatever. Do you have any advice for people that just get a little bit of fear factor that then they can't seem to let go past that?
Okay, I think there are two different aspects here, because I think that somebody who has fear factors as such, they cannot just be fears with a broad word as such, fear. I think that there's no one single one of us here sitting here, guys, that doesn't have any fears about anything. I mean, let's get real here. And some of those fears that you think you know, you don't even realize that they're really there until you're triggered off by something. Because every experience that you're having, it's a multifaceted one in your life. That multifaceted one, you may be thinking that, oh yeah, I've been betrayed. So what more do you want me to tell you? I've been betrayed. What is it that you want to know? No, the feelings behind an experience are multi. Those frequencies that are multi, because they're frequencies that will embed themselves within your energetic space. So when we say, hey, let's get some healing here. Yeah, good idea, relax, whatever, energies to work with you. But real healing has got to start from self-healing. It's got to start from self-healing. Back to the self again. Who started in the first place? Who didn't let go in the first place? Who created the knots? Because there are knots of blocked energies. So the same thing happens when you are doing this trance thing, because fear has never been really part of our nature when we come in as little babies. You have no fear, right? Look what happens. Look at the kids. I've got two twin grandchildren now, just over a year old. And, you know, they're everywhere. You know, they put their hands everywhere. You know, most of you here that I've got kids, you know what they're like. But as we grow up, we understand what fear is about. Mm-hmm. And we begin to feel what fear is about because we all begin to get broken. We all begin to get cracked like an egg. So we patch things up as much as we can, but we're all broken. So what happens somewhere along the line, if something external happens and triggers you off, that crack is going to come open again. So all sorts of things can happen when you are trying to go into this trance state, when you are letting go, because the problem with our experiences and the damage that we cause it because we don't let go. We do not forget our experiences. How many times have you heard the expression, you got to let it go? You got to move on. So it's part of our innate nature to understand fear. I think that there's also a misconception that I'm dealing with the spirit world, you know? Maybe it's dangerous. What happens if I can't control it? Because some people think like that. I can't control it. What if it's something that's negative? Well, if you're sitting there in the first place because you're sitting there because you made that connection with your heart space, and hopefully your intention is one of truth, to sit in love, then I'll find it very strange that you will pick up on a negative energy that wants to come into the light, because he cannot. But believe me, yes, there is very, very much negative energy, is very much real and not very comfortable. And there's got to be the yin and the yang. But remember, energy attracts energy. I think it's about the perception that you have that if I let go, I'm not going to be in control. And then you get into other things. How much does the personality wants to be in control all the time? That also comes into it, Milada, right? You can only assure them that they're not in any danger of any kind, that they're working through the heart, they're working with the light. Milada, do you get them to maybe work with their own light first and step into their own light?
No, I have not tried that. I've not tried that. I've had them, I've recommended to go as far as they feel comfortable, and then to just stop and just to feel themselves and feel the spirit and just sit there with it for a few minutes, just because sometimes it's kind of a matter of like, oh, this feels actually really wonderful and really nice and really comfortable. And then sometimes from that space, you can move on to the next space, you know, but I haven't had them step into their own light. No.
Might try doing that, because, you know, they might get comfortable and more relaxed and more confident to be in their own light.
Okay.
That's an excellent question.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, Angelina, because that's very helpful. I've never tried that before.
You're very welcome.
Does anybody else have any questions? No, we got shy people here.
Well, they've been pretty good. I think it was lovely interaction, actually. I think that I feel that, you know, there's a very nice warmthness about the people here and comfortableness. So yeah, if there's any more questions.
Can I ask, please?
Yeah, sure, please. Yeah.
I put it up. I said, can trance mediumship actually lead on to physical mediumship? Because I started as a trance medium, then I went into transfiguration.
Yeah, you can. One thing can lead to the other. Usually you've got to start one before you go into the physical, for sure, into the transfiguration. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. One leads to, you've got to do it in the way that you started, as you just explained. Absolutely. But I'll say it again, that the conditions have got to be right within the physicality of the medium in order.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And there needs to be the right conditions. And in fact, there needs to be the right chemical composition in the physicality of the medium. Okay, that's what my guy just said. So, and not everybody, and it's not many people that are able to carry that. Not only carry it, develop it, and use it correctly. Yeah, and I think you understand what I mean. That's why it's got to be done in, and it's certainly a building up of many, many years of it, and there's been in the past some amazing physical.
No, I know, I agree with you, Angela. I don't know, how do you spell it? Angelina?
Yeah.
Because it took me about 20 years to develop the physical.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took quite a long time.
It does take time. And as Julie was saying, you know, we were having a conversation before, and, you know, people want to do crash courses, right, Julie?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
They want to do a crash course, and they honestly think that, you know, you're going to do a crash course because, I mean, why? Because at the end of the day, I'm asking, my question is why?
Well, we're having transfiguration in our circles, in our trance circle and our blending for physical circle.
Mm.
There's no doubt about it.
Because
And my question is, why do people want to do a crash course? Why?
It wasn't a crash course in our circles. That's where I'm confused at. I mean,
No.
I do believe that in trance and speaking, it's a trance course. It's a people do want to speak before they develop the process, go through the process of developing. But there is a lot of evidence of physical mediumship going on in the circles.
yeah, it seems to be sort of resurrecting itself, because it went back into the sort of the closed circles, but it seems to be coming forward again. An awful lot of people are interested in again.
And they're saying it's not happening in trance circles, but it is happening in the trance circles.
Yeah.
Hear voices and
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
hear
yeah.
voices, we see transfigurations. I've got photos to prove it.
Mm. Mm.
That's why I understand your concept, Pipin, because I work between the two worlds, so I understand your concept, what you're related to, Angela. I understand exactly what you're related to.
Yes, I think you do. Yeah.
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 Yeah. And you know, there is a big difference. You know, you look at Leslie Flint, you know?
Oh yeah, the psychic trumpet, yeah.
I mean, it's not about the trumpet. You're talking about something, I mean, you know, a manifestation, 3D. Manifestation, 3D. It's not about blending, it's not about blurring, it's not about over this and that. It's about physical presentation there. It's a mother that's been able to hug her child that she lost when the child was 5 years old. This is phenomenal stuff.
Another concept that seems to be coming very much to the fore is the physical. I do not know if it's working with spirit or not, but they seem to have this concept that you can do the physical via Zoom.
I agree.
Do you agree with this?
I agree with it. I agree. You can do it.
We are
Sorry,
having
just to jump in, you know, I just think the more we restrict ourselves in our belief, this is just my belief, everybody is open to their own interpretation, but I believe that, you know, we are at a different age now to the past, and there's much more that's coming through that we become aware of through the connection. But to tie ourselves and limit ourselves to what we think, you know, technology has moved on and spirit used that, and yes, it is different from the past, but I think if we hold ourselves back and not moving forward with what we have, we restrict ourselves in what we can do. There is the in-person, which is fabulous. I've sat in many a demonstration and been absolutely blown away, but I would say I've also been blown away of what I've been able to see through, you know, we're hearing sounds, we're hearing voices, we're getting absolute physical proof of what we're seeing, of what we're hearing. So I feel not to restrict ourselves in the beliefs of the past, but keep ourselves open. We have to be like a question mark.
Mm.
We have to be like a question mark.
I agree with you totally. There's a fundamental difference of why we are able to perceive a lot easier, because the walls between the spirit world and us is now becoming finer and thinner. So we are more able, and with the use of technology, to be able to right now, if I was to pick up my phone, Debbie, and photograph, I can see somebody sitting behind you now who's there with you listening.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep. So, I mean, I can see them. I mean, Athena will tell you all the time. It's just all the time. They're just there, you know. So this is something that could not be done for sure. But the walls, it's like a membrane, is becoming finer because there's more of a collective awakening around the earth.
Absolutely.
That's exactly why this is happening.
Mm.
So when we used to hear, you know, 10 years ago, there will be an awakening, and this, not about the world turning upside down. It's about humanity gradually awakening and understanding what their true nature is. That we are spiritual beings, that we are vibrating on the same frequencies. And that we are interconnected, and therefore we also have a responsibility towards ourselves and each other. That is,
Oh, absolutely. Yes, you have to. But I think it's also at the same time keeping ourselves open,
Exactly.
keeping ourselves open
limitations.
to all possibilities.
so why is it
I
that
mean,
we
the
don't-
thing is, but when you work in that light, it's like, for instance, they could be shown, our spirit team can be shown us evidence in a different way, but by closing our minds off to it, we will never be part of that.
No, that's true. What I was referring to is specifically, and I think that's what Sandy, I think, was really more referring to. I am referring specifically to ectoplasm and those conditions. I'm referring to that because there needs
How
to
do we know? But how do we know if we don't try?
I can
How
jump-
do we know that that is not possible?
because we know
But we don't.
know that ectoplasm. We know that
can jump
ectoplasm
in
is
here,
vast.
Angela. Can I jump in? Yes, I know what you're talking about, ectoplasm, because years ago I did suffer an ectoplasmic trance. I went into full ectoplasmic trance, and yes, I had a psychic burn like across the solar plexus. But since then, I've researched it, but sort of participated in it, etc., etc. But the spirit now have refined ectoplasm. It's not this thick muscular. It's refined. So I think now that, God, I'm going funny here, but now that they're coming in, they're now practicing safe physical mediumship. And
Yes.
they want the mediums to suffer the maiming of the psychic burns, them dying because of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now they're refining it. So now, as Debbie says, they're trying now to, I mean, we were an experimental circle in Whitcock. We were with a group called the Noah's Ark, and that was promoting safe physical medium.
I've heard of that.
And that was, what do you call it? This was, and we were the experimental circle. They'd done away with the cabinet. They'd done away with the red light. They didn't want the theatrical settings. They were wanting us on green light, normal lighting conditions, as the green light was more of a, I could put it, was more comfortable for sitters and spirit. But
It's kind of like a protoplasm, I believe, right?
Yeah, but since then, they now start to go on to this Zoom sort of online. And this is where the experiment's coming in now. Now, I agree with Debbie, it's going to be a new concept. It's not going to be the full ectoplasmic trance.
No, you won't get that. The same because
but they will work with us in different ways. That's the beauty of it. They will work with us as long as we are open. Spirit, you can imagine, you can feel it when we talk. We can feel the life, you know, the vibration of that comes forward to connect with us. And as long as we are open, there's a difference between someone going and doing a crash course, as in, 4 weeks, that's you're a full-blown physical medium out. You go, that's completely different. But to allow ourselves just to be in that place for the spirit to connect and be able to show, I mean, to see your loved one's face, it could be one of us sitting in, which was shown with Malada. Someone recognised
their grandmother.
Person that was the and that is healing. Everything that we do is healing. No matter what we do, it's the vibration to touch someone, to bring them comfort. That person brought them comfort. So if Malada hadn't taken the courage to sit there and say, I'm open, here I am, come and connect with me, that person would never have had that healing. This is what it means to me.
I
What it
agree.
means.
And I'm telling you, what I'm saying is, I told you, it's because the conditions are getting finer. The web, if you like, between the two worlds is getting finer. This is why we're able a lot easier to. We've had, I remember, I think it was last year. You remember Athena, then one of the grandmothers of Sandra from Singapore. That
Beautiful.
You know, and then we had this. I mean, the photograph, guys. I mean, it was just mind blowing. You know.
Yeah.
You know, black and white sepia photograph. Yeah. Because again, I mean, 3 years of sitting twice a week, 3 years. of sitting twice a week and being patient. And certainly the intention was not, I'm going to sit there and connect to my grandma. No, it was not
at all. Yeah.
being open and not putting yourself under boxes, etc., etc. I've got something here that I can read out to you, John. I think it's quite nice the way that my spirit guide expressed it. It's called the expansiveness of your light.
Mm.
All wisdom and knowledge have a path and a process for the soul. Once it is seeded, it will once again, as we said before, under the guidance of a higher realm of consciousness and light, seek to establish what you may call your soul matrix. For each soul is a unique complexity of beauty. It draws to itself the frequency of light and color that will be anchored within your heart and expand outwards to become a field of attraction. There are rays of learning. These rays come under various masters who hold the ray as a balance, like an instrument of fine tuning. So therefore, these frequencies will expand like a musical scale for your soul to respond to. As wisdom and knowledge is attained, those learning grids of matrix become more coherent and also become more brighter and clearer. So in turn, be able to refine their own musical notes. You speak in an acknowledged language to each other, but within the beauty of creation, you manifest and communicate all of you through the music of your souls. These frequencies of expansiveness of love and compassion are transmuted like a wave within your being. When you sit, like now, in the circle for spirit, connecting to the love frequency of the light, you also are able to feel this through waves of temperature changes. And at the same time, your own individual designs begin to expand, glow, and become illuminated with the glorification of the oneness. This is what attracts spirit to your light, the one light. It is time to bring this together, to bring spirit closer, to vibrate closer to the matrix of the physical. This is why you're able to observe spirit. There is nothing more natural in its essence, not because one has more special qualities or indeed achieved some level of advanced development. It is all within your nature. You are simply stepping into your true nature. Spirit will work with those who come from a place of truth to serve spirit for the good of mankind. There is only truth that will be maintained. And if it's pure in its essence, and if it's not, it will not be sustained. It will not be sustained if the truth is not allowed to shine for the wrong reason. Work with purity within your hearts, and the truth will shine like a beacon. I think that's putting in a gist what we're all trying to say here. And what incredible light beings we are.
Beautiful, Angelina. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Any more or any other subjects or whatever, you know, it really is really under same roof, right? And we're all here to share.
Yes, so we'll thank you for your time and for everybody and your questions. And I guess we'll wrap it up now. Angelina is working on a book. Hopefully, I'm not sure how far she is into it.
It's been a bit of a struggle the last 1 year with gorgeous twins coming in, but it's taken some of my time and various other things, but I've one more time I'm on track now, and I know that for various reasons. So I'm ready for that. I'm sure all of us are going through our own journeys, our own struggles, but we never get off the path. Remember, there's the light always. Always trust. Julie has done superb work over the years. Has done so much work to help everybody. Spent freely her time helping people, open up people to the understanding of the spirit world. We met on a trance course, didn't we, Julie? That's how we started off.
Mark Bedwards.
And that was not by chance that I met her, but I sat in a meditation with a group of friends. And within 5 seconds, I saw this man I never saw before in my life, standing on a stage, sepia color, the whole vision. Never knew who he was, but all he had in his hand was an old-fashioned kind of Fred Astaire microphone. I guess speaking to the public, but I couldn't see them because the vision was on the side. 24 hours later, I get an email from obviously a source I must have watched something, never received it again. And I went to the link, and that was the man I saw. That was Mark Bedwood. I never saw him in my life. So that's trust in spirit, because I knew that for whatever reason, I had to do that. And, you know, it just kind of put me in that path that I was ignoring for a number of years. And it led to other things. I mean, of course, we become friends over the, you know, X amount of years, Julie. And I think we're going to be hopefully doing some stuff together, Julie, in the new year.
A workshop in 2023. Be on the lookout. Yeah. Angelina and I together.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Sandy, who wrote that. Thank you so much. Yeah, I enjoyed being with all of you. Like I said, I love, you know, sharing. So anytime. Sure. My friend Julie there.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you
all.
both. Thank you, Jillian.
Thank you all. Thank you,
Angelina.
Julie. Thank you, Angelina. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Nice being
Bye.
here.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.